Driving me out of my mind. That's why it's hard for me to
So we got up early in the morning, we went to the reception center, we waited, they called our names out so they can give us our printed tickets, and then after that the bus transported us to the airport and we flew to Ohio. So that's all of Airman's week. Now we're getting into tech school because it just runs right in together. So tech school, honestly y'all, the first week or two is just going to be in processing. You're just going to in process, you're going to get the key to your dorm, you're going to meet your MTLs. They're not MTIs anymore, they're not military training instructors. The individuals who are leading you are military training leaders. So they're kind of like an MTI, but they don't have their campaign hat. So they're more of a guidance counselor versus a parent in a sense. So when you get to tech school, you'll meet your MTL. They'll present themselves, they'll tell you who they are, tell you what their job is or whatever, however it works. I don't know. It's not really set in stone, but you get to know who they are. They already know who you are and they already know what your job is. Most MTLs will not have the same job as you. So if you have job related questions, you ask your instructors. So instructors, like teachers, and your MTLs are two separate entities. So MTLs are the individuals that work with your personnel issues, like things that's happening at the dorms, mail. If you have questions about getting your CAC, which is your military ID, or if you have issues with getting your car here, things like that, that's what they tell you. They tell you about the different phases, which I'm going to talk about a little later, but that's what they do. Your teachers or your actual instructors, when you go to class, those are the individuals that have your job. Those are the individuals that are in your career field and they're teaching you your job that you're going to do. So tech school is literally like college. You go to school, you learn, you take tests. That's class. This is tech school. But when you are out of school, you go back to the dorms, you have to clean up. So you have to still do details. You still have to study. But you also have to do PT. So it's like you're still in the military, but you're like a military student at that time. So you still have to do everything you have to do in the military, which is at that point, your job at that point is learning your job, going to school. But you still have to do PT. You still have to clean up the dorms. You still have to clean up your room and make sure it's up to par because you get inspected. So that's something else. So pretty much for me, my tech school was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. That's where public health, bioenvironmental engineering, and aerospace physiology, that's where all of our tech schools are. But if you are a 4N or if you want to be a 4N, which is a med tech, so you're a medical technician, you do IVs and all that good stuff. So if you think of like a CNA or a nurse, that's what a 4N is. So 4Ns go there for their phase 2. So 4Ns have 2 phases. Their first phase is in Fort Sam and their second phase is in Wright-Patterson or other places. I am a public health technician. I've said this in another video, but I've never really talked about my job. So my job is really, honestly, we do everything. On the Air Force website, it lets you see every single job that's in the Air Force. And with every job, it tells you about qualifications, like what you need to get the job. It tells you what your ASVAB score needs to be. It tells you any specific requirements that are required for that job. So I have my phone in my hand and I'm just going to read right off the website everything it says. I'll also link the Air Force website down below just in case you don't feel like typing in www.airforce.com. The minimum education for my job is a high school diploma or a GED. Pretty much for my job, the main things are have knowledge of basic biological and physical sciences. So that's in your ASVAB, that's the general score. You also have to have normal color vision, but they can give you waivers for that. And you have to have a valid driver's license, but they can give you a waiver for that as well. So it tells you about training and education. You have to complete basic, which is 7.5 weeks, and then you have that week of Airman's week. And then my tech school for public health is 47 duty days. So don't think of it as like, okay, this tech school is only a month and a half. No, my job is about 3 months exactly. The 47 days that it's saying the tech training is just 47 duty days. So Monday through Friday, and you do the math. The tech school location is in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, like I told you. And upon completion of tech school, you'll be a public health technician. So you'll be awarded that title but you already have the title of airman because you graduated from basic. I'm gonna read the little descriptions of what we do just in case you're interested in a medical job, or if you're interested in public health, like if you went to school for public health, or if it was something that interests you, or if you hear what I'm about to say and you're like, oh, that sounds interesting, I'm just gonna give you the tea. So we do a lot of stuff. We do so much stuff, it's really crazy. We control disease transmission through patient interviews, investigation, and community outreach programs. We conduct food and safety defense programs. We assess risks associated with production, transportation, storage, preparation, and serving of food. We advise healthcare providers on workplace hazards. And lastly, we oversee medical clearances for deploying personnel. So my actual job, I'm the part that controls the disease transmission through interviews. I'm pretty much like the health department. Another thing that I do that was mentioned is I do the food inspection. So we inspect facilities to see if everything is safe and if everything is wholesome and things like that. So those are the two main things that I do. The other sections are in another section that I haven't rotated to yet, but we rotate sections, or depending on how big or small your base is, you may do multiple things at the same time like I am. So I'm going to go ahead and transition into how tech school works and the basic structure. Every tech school is different. Every job is different. So my experience may differ dramatically from yours, or it may be something similar, especially if you go to my tech schools. So one thing that I do want to come to you guys and talk to you about is ITP versus ATP. ITP means initial transition phase and ATP means advanced transition phase. These phases are basically how much of an adult you are in a sense. So I'm going to explain. Don't have question marks. ITP is the initial transition phase. So when you first get to your tech school, you are considered to be an ITP. ITP means that you have to walk everywhere in your uniform, okay, your ABUs, the uniform of the day. You cannot go off base. You cannot drink, whether you're 21 or not. How my tech school worked, if you are inside the dorms, inside the building, then you can wear your civilian clothes. But if you stepped foot out of that building, then you have to have on your uniform. You can't even have on PT gear. The advanced transition phase is basically when you're an adult and they give you all the freedom. So you remember when I was telling you about Airman's Week, how they give you a little bit of freedom? Same thing. So same thing in tech school. ITP, you get a little bit more freedom than what you had in Airman's Week, but you don't have the amount of freedom that you can have with ATP. When you're in ATP, you are free to pretty much do as you please, as long as you're in before curfew, if you even have a curfew. Some tech schools have curfews and some tech schools don't. Some tech schools have curfews during the duty week. Some tech schools have no curfew. Some tech schools have curfew the whole time you're there. It just depends on your tech school. It just depends. For me, public health, my tech school at Wright Pat, we only had curfew Monday through Friday. And I think our curfew was like we had to be in our rooms at 10 o'clock, but you don't have to be asleep. You just have to be in your room. And on the weekends, we didn't have a curfew at all. So we could be out all night if we wanted to. We just had to let them know if we were gonna stay off base or not. So yeah, so that's ATP versus ITP. Actual tech school, like actually going to class, again, depending on your base. My base, my tech school, we have to ride the bus to class just because our classrooms were so far from our dorm, so we couldn't march there like most other tech schools do. So other tech schools like Fort Sam and Keesler, things like that, they march in something called super flight. So super flight is when literally everyone that has your same job, you all get into a flight and you basically march. So you'll have individuals who march you, who have different ropes, but you have different ropes which are student leaders, and they march you to class and they march you from class. That's pretty much how it works. A normal day in tech school at my base was pretty easy. When you're an ITP, like I said before, you can't go off base, you can't do anything like that. Most of the time during the week, you don't even want to go off base because most of the time people don't have their cars. Some bases you can't have your cars, or you're not there long enough to even bring your car. Wright-Patterson is in an area where I'm pretty much from, because I'm from Indiana, so I could have gone back to get my car, but I didn't because I didn't have a car at the time. But my friend, my really good friend, he lived in Kentucky, so he went and got his car and came back with his car. So we had a friend who had a car. Don't use people in tech school for their cars, y'all. Don't do it. But if you live close to where your tech school is and they permit that, then you can get your car once you get to that advanced transition phase. So for you to get out of ITP and into ATP, depending on your tech school, you have to do certain stuff. For my tech school, we had to do these things. So 1, you have to pass a room inspection. 2, you have to pass your PT test, which are all components except for the waist. They don't measure your waist. 3, you have to pass a blues inspection. So your blues, you have to be in full service dress, have everything on it like your ribbons and everything, and you have to look presentable. And if they don't think you look presentable, then you fail and you have to keep going to them until you pass. So those are the requirements for you to get the advanced transition phase. Once you obtain the advanced transition phase, you can go off base, you can go out of the dorms in your civilian clothes, things like that. It depends on how long your tech school is to how long it takes to get ATP. My tech school, it took us about 4 to 5 weeks before we can even get it, because they had mock PT tests once a month. So if you didn't catch it on that month, or if you failed it that month, you would have to wait a whole nother month to take it. So there are people in my tech school who never got ATP. PT test is the main one that I would say pass the first time. You should be able to pass it, but they have different standards. The standards at my tech school was that you had to like run your mile and a half in a certain amount of time. You had to get a certain amount of push-ups and sit-ups, but they weren't the basic standards and basic training. They were above the standard. I would recommend passing your PT test the first time, because if they don't have it often, you might miss out. The PT test and your room inspections are the 2 things that you can control that you should pass off the bat. Your blues inspection, they can give you a little critique. Sometimes it depends on how hard they are. If they're kind of lenient, then they'll help you out and they'll tell you to fix it right then and there, and you can fix it. So those are all the requirements that you have to do to get to ATP in my tech school, but it may be different for yours. So I'm just giving you an idea of what I had to do to advance into the next phase. So no matter what phase you're in or anything like that, the normal day-to-day things that you do are simple. So at my tech school, we had PT Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 04:45 until about 5:30. And then after we did PT on those days, we did details. After details, you went upstairs to get dressed, take a shower, do your breakfast, whatever you gotta do. And then we had to meet downstairs at a certain time to catch the bus to go to class. On the days that we did not have PT, we would just wake up a little bit later. We'll do details in PT gear, go upstairs, take your showers, do your makeup, do whatever you want to do, be downstairs by a certain time to catch the bus to go to class. Class is literally like how it was in high school. That's literally how it is. You kind of have like periods. So in my tech school, we had about an hour to 2 hour sessions, and then they will give us like a 10-minute break, and then we'll have another hour to 2 hour session, and then they'll give us a break, and then we'll have our lunch break. But we ate lunch at the dining facility at our schoolhouse. I'm just telling you my experience because I've only experienced my tech. So after you come back from lunch, it's literally the same thing. So an hour to 2 hour class, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you have tests, but if you have tests, you know way ahead of time. When we first started class, they gave us a syllabus pretty much to let us know schedules. My tech school, we had to wear blues every Monday. So you had to wear your certain combination of your blues every Monday. So that's pretty much how tech school went. So graduating tech school is not as big as graduating BMT, so you don't have to fly your family out, or your family does not have to come. But if you want them to, and if they're willing to come to wherever you are, then you can go ahead and invite them. I really hope that I didn't leave anything out, and I am so sorry that this video is so long. I talk a lot. I am so sorry. I try and be as thorough and detailed as possible so I don't leave anything out, so you guys can really understand what's going on. But if I left anything out, or if you guys have any questions about anything that I said, go ahead and hit me up in the comments down below. You can contact me on any of my social media that's also linked down below, and it's also going to be at the end of this video. If you guys enjoy me talking to you guys, if you enjoy my channel, if you enjoy me in general, go ahead and click that subscribe button that's down below if you have not already. Last but not least, if you like this video, if you like me, go ahead and click that thumbs up button, because the more likes that I get, the more my video gets out there, so you guys can help me help other people. Thank you so much.
Whoa!